And we are coming to you live from Newegg Studios in Southern California. This is Newegg Now. I'm Trisha Hirschberger.
I'm Juan Carlos and we're back once again. You've brought us back into your living rooms, your computers, your smartphones, your tablets, your laptops to talk about tech deals, tech promotions, deals on tech, and all the other things you love out there regarding
hashtag tech.
Hashtag tech.
Hashtag deals. You can take a look at the special promotions going on as a part of the show today by visiting newegg.com/NeweggNow. There's a lot of deals today, so we actually won't get a chance to talk about every single one of them. But make sure that you check out that page because that's going to have all of them. You can then get the promo codes and pick up exactly what you want before time's up.
Before time is up.
Right.
And so we're going to start the show off talking about STEM and maker toys. We're going to be talking about microphones and podcasting, the world of audio that I come from.
You're so
and
happy.
I'm so excited.
I'm so happy.
They let me talk about mics. But we're going to kick things off today with the wonderful world of drones. Ooh. So stay right where you are.
Devices that range from fun little toys to advanced racing models and photography rigs. Juan, what is your background and experience with drones?
Okay, so I am a terrible pilot. So I love like flying little like mini hobbyist drones, stuff like that. I mean, nothing that's ever really bigger than the palm of my hand. But I started way back with like some of those really nice remote control helicopters.
Okay.
Those single prop helicopters, and it's just always been sort of the evil of flying things in our house. Like, I'm flying this helicopter, it's actually pretty easy to fly, and like, Marie, you should try this. And she's like, oh, okay. And it's like, just gun the throttle, it's gonna go up, it's gonna be fine.
Oh, no.
And so she hits the throttle and she kind of panics. And it's like she aimed for it. She like laser shots this really expensive remote control helicopter like right into our dog's water bowl. And like it just explodes in the water bowl and it's like flipping around and then it shuts itself off because water's all over the place and it was a sad day.
That is a sad
We don't fly a lot in the Bagnell household.
No, and for me, I stick with land drones for much of the same reason.
Things you can strap Logan to and
no.
Nate, incoming.
No, don't strap your baby to a drone, pro tip. No, I stick with land drones. My first drone that I ever got was a Parrot Sumo drone, one of those little ones that jumps.
Yeah.
And that was really fun to mess around with. And of course, all I could think of is like, oh, all the really cool POV shots I can get for a YouTube video where I feel like I have this like cyborg familiar, because that's where my head goes. But no, like flying drones, I feel like are a little bit scary for just the reasons that you said. You're going to spend a lot of money on something really, really cool, and if you don't do your correct preparation, you have an opportunity
we've both worked on projects where we've hired people to come in for drone shots and aerial shots and stuff like that, and you're like, that's something that I leave to the professionals, but also the announcement that was made this week from DJI is going to, I think, kind of help move us into a new era of consumer drones. So yeah, it was this Tuesday. DJI released the Mavic Air. I actually watched the press conference. I live streamed the press conference because I just want to see what's going on with this thing. More compact, it's intelligent, it's faster than the company's more popular Mavic Pro. And the Newegg Ninja team, they had a chance to go out, shoot some video with it. They went hands-on. So why don't we cut to that? You can check out the Mavic Air in all its glory.
The world of drones just got a lot more interesting with the newest release from DJI, Mavic Air. The Mavic Air is the third release in the Mavic lineup, coming after the Pro and Platinum models. The Mavic Air has a very different look from the Pro, replacing the angular lines with smooth, sweeping curves and rounded edges. The Mavic Air is basically a shrunken down Pro designed for portability. DJI stuck with the collapsible arms, this time also making the landing gear fold up when not in use. The collapsed Air is substantially more compact than the Pro. The Mavic Air weighs only 430 grams with a respectable max flight time of 22 minutes. It has a max speed of 42 miles per hour in sport mode and 17.9 miles per hour in P mode. And let's talk camera. The Air has a 3-axis mechanical gimbal, a 1/2.3-inch CMOS sensor with an 85-degree field of view that can take 12 megapixel stills, and a live view downlink in 720p at 30 frames per second. It also has 4K recording at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 60, and 1080p at 120 frames per second for some truly epic content. The Mavic Air also has 2 front-facing, 2 rear-facing, and 2 downward-facing vision sensors with an additional 2 infrared sensors. It's also packing multi-directional awareness and obstacle detection from 1.7 to 79 feet. One of the coolest things about DJI drones is the pre-programmed flight modes. There's a few new ones this time around, including Rocket, Droney, Circle, Helix, Asteroid, and Boomerang modes. For $799, the Mavic Air is cheaper than a new Mavic Pro and even more portable. If you're a drone enthusiast, the Mavic Air is one tempting piece of tech.
So that's the Mavic Air. It just went up for pre-order a few days ago on Newegg. Drone diehards probably already know all about this new model because it's a huge deal. But let's run down what makes the Mavic Air so special.
Now, first up, Mavic Air is one of the best video and photo aeronautical devices ever made. Shooting 4K video at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, 1080p, 12 megapixel still photography, and I love just how discreet the little 3-axis gimbal is to stabilize your shots. And using that entire setup, you can shoot 360-degree sphere, panorama shots, HDR. It's all there.
Really nice. But all that camera tech does not mean much if it can't fly. So true to its name, the Mavic Air is packed with intelligent flight features, which would be great for people like Juan and I that are maybe, you know,
are terrible pilots. I'm just going to say I'm a terrible pilot.
So there are 8 positioning sensors. There's obstacle avoidance up to 33 feet, which is really nice. 22 minutes of flight time and capable of a speed of 42 miles per hour in its sport mode.
And I really I need Wes to be doing like zoom noises while he does the demos. Perfect. That's exactly what we're like. So I mean, there's a lot that we could get into with the Mavic Air. It comes in white, black, or red. Folds down, super compact, back pocket design. I mean, the overall footprint, it's thicker. Wes almost broke it, but it's fine. It's fine. I mean, they say it folds down to the size of like a large smartphone, but obviously it's a lot thicker just for all the gears and motors and stuff that go in there. But you can see all the details on the Mavic Air on Newegg, and you can pre-order it today, right now, from the Newegg Now page for $799. Head over to newegg.com/NeweggNow and check it out.
So that's the DJI Mavic Air, but that's just one single drone. There are a lot of different options out there to choose from. Consumer drones fall into one of 3 main categories: photography, racing, and hobby drones. Now for photography drones, you're looking at companies like DJI, Unique, Parrot, and more. The photo and video quality is critical here. Maybe you want something with image stabilization with a mechanical gimbal like we were talking about with the Mavic Air, and digital options. Usually there's some kind of live view video downlink, which either goes to a monitor on the remote or on an app on a smartphone. And photo drones often have some kind of pre-programmed flight and shooting modes to capture different kinds of footage.
Yeah, and help take the edge off content creators. You know, you're not necessarily getting into the next phase of drones, which are racing drones. That's the edgier, too fast, too furious, I live my life 1/4 mile at a time kind of drones. I'm going to stop that metaphor right there.
Okay.
So generally, these are more DIY, often not the same, like, you know, just sort of out of the box experience and easy setup.
Right.
But as the scene becomes more popular, we are seeing more ready to fly drones. And for racing drones, ready to fly means the full kit: drone, a first-person view, goggles, battery transmitter, all included together to kind of help get you up and running as quickly as possible for something that flies really fast. And they are seriously fast. Some of them reaching speeds up to 120 miles an hour. Those obviously don't have the same kind of safety features, kind of like, you know, like when you turn traction control off on your sports cars because you want to go fast. That's kind of what we're dealing with there. So you have to face some damage if you crash the thing.
Yes, indeed. And then last but not least, there are what's known as hobby drones. These are the smaller, less expensive, slower, safer, and softer models. Yeah, well, they're intended more for beginners or for those who just want something for all-around use. These are things like micro drones, drones with soft foam exteriors, and so on.
So if you're just getting started with drones, there are some things to know and consider before diving in and investing a lot of money. Again, one of the fears that we have in trying to play with drones. Most important of all, I think you should be paying attention to the laws and regulations in your area. As drones have become more popular, obviously there's been more scrutiny over this hobby.
Sure.
And so it's important that people are aware. You should never fly within 5 miles of an airport or other sensitive or secure area, especially around military bases. You should never fly over a fire or other emergency because you might interfere with rescue operations. Don't photograph people. Like, that's just sort of good life advice, like without their permission.
Yeah, don't photograph people without their permission. I don't know how often I've been like out hiking and I hear a drone come over and I'm like, hi.
I'm in your shot.
I don't know who you are.
And then also, I think it's just good advice to stay at least 25 feet away from major structures. If you live in an urban area especially, plan on heading out to somewhere where you can find a little open sky.
Well, it's more fun that way too. I don't know, depending on the size of your drone and whether you'll be using it for commercial purposes, which is another great thing to bring up, there may be licensing requirements with that as well. So make sure that you check your local rules and regulations before you set out to fly.
And depending on the size of the drone too.
Yeah. So as long as you fly your drone safely and use common sense, you should be totally fine. And with modern drones, it's easier than ever to actually fly them because the drones coming out these days are packed with special features that help you to stay in control. Modern drones are often self-balancing. They sometimes have autopilot modes. And like the Mavic Air, the more advanced drones usually have some kind of obstacle detection or avoidance features built in already.
Yeah, definitely. So some of these drones are even featuring things like Intel's RealSense, which is really exciting. So technology that can adapt, can see the world around it and adapt to changes in its environment. We have the Typhoon H from Unique in the studio. It's actually been one of our studio dressings. It's way back behind me up on the bookshelf. I apologize. I should have put it on the table.
Well, that was one of the first drones to use RealSense.
That's right. Yeah, they showed it off. That was the demo we were all going nuts over, CES, I think 2016.
Yeah.
Where we saw that footage of a drone following a mountain biker. And not only like flying around obstacles, but immediately reacting to changes in its environment, things falling right in its flight path.
Yeah. So to quell our fears, as well as some of yours out there, drones are becoming more and more easy to fly than you might think. There's tons of useful features to help out. So get over that hurdle and just do it already.
Yeah.
It's time to buy one, right? And we're here to help because through the end of today, while supplies last, you can use the codes on Newegg.com/Newegg now to save on a bunch of popular drone items.
So yeah, let's check out a few of these. Starting with a great intro to drones is the Air Block. And we've got the Air Block on the table right here. It's a programmable drone made of styrofoam pieces that break apart in a crash. They're really easy to clip together. This is a lot safer to fly indoors, which is always nice. And you can even change it around. Because it's modular, you can do things like you can turn it into a hovercraft, just a little bit of tweaking. Excuse me. So you can save $36 on the Air Block as part of Newegg Now today. And again, when we're talking about like avionics and stuff, we're going to be talking about STEM toys later on in the show. This, I think, also kind of bridges that gap. If you want to introduce some of these concepts of like flying and stuff, you could use this as a way to get kids interested in drone tech too.
I love it. We also have special pricing on the Hover Camera Passport, which is a foldable self-flying photography drone. It has enclosed props, which make it safe to fly in close quarters to people. It shoots 4K video, safer, yeah, and has gesture control and auto-follow features. You can save $170 on the Hover Camera Passport with the Newegg Now promo code. That's about 34% off the normal price.
Not bad. And the last one we're going to talk about today. The X-Craft X+1 Platinum Quadcopter.
I love the way you say that.
It's just so much fun. So this is someone that's looking for a drone that's a little that's a little different from sort of the mainstream and consumer size. The X+1 was featured on an episode of Shark Tank that I actually watched.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It was actually kind of fun because you you got like Mark Cuban on the show, however techy stuff, and he gets real interested, but I'm gonna kind of neg you for a while before I say I'm gonna invest. They actually had like a bidding war going on. It was pretty great. But so this drone is really exciting because it lifts off as a quadcopter and then in flight shifts 90 degrees over to a nose-first position.
Cool.
Top speed of 60 miles an hour, 20 minutes of flight time. This thing is super cool. It's like an Osprey, but for consumers. You can save an incredible $340 off the X Plus One by going to newegg.com/Newegg now, but only while supplies and time last.
Of course. And there are even more drone deals for you to check out on that Newegg Now page, including models from Extreme Fliers, Unique, Walkera, and more. So don't miss out. That's about all the time we have to discuss drones for today. But stay tuned because we'll be right back with a whole bunch of toys.
Yeah. Welcome to the wonderful world of STEM toys. STEM, this is a term you might have heard thrown around. It stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So when we're talking about STEM toys, that means toys that are helping kids learn while they play. It's like eating delicious vegetables.
I'm just going to bring some of them in here
we gotta
can feel like we're in the wonderful world of toys.
I'm very excited about
and so I know to some of you the idea of educational toys probably brings to mind plastic brains from science class or boring coloring books or something like that, but you'd be pretty amazed at just how awesome STEM toys have gotten. From robots to intro PC building kits, these are not the boring toys that we had when we were kids, for sure.
So, and there's a lot of overlap between STEM toys and maker movement. It's easy to see the progression from toys that that fulfill like the basics of programming on a Raspberry Pi all the way to building up a full PC. And STEM are just getting, this idea of STEM is just getting more popular. I mean, the recent news, Nintendo jumping into the space with Labo.
Nintendo Labo!
I'm irrationally excited. Because, well, okay, so to preface this, Nintendo has always had some space with turning their game consoles into other things. Like you had Mario Music Maker and Mario Paint, you had a camera on the Game Boy, and this seems like the next phase, like just the right next step for the company to be taking so that, you know, I'm gonna buy a Switch, but it can still be for educational purposes too. I mean,
and if you think about all the crazy peripherals Nintendo came out with way back in the day, the Nintendo Bazooka, Rob the Robot, like this is a way to make things like that, but in a less expensive way that adds creativity into it. I don't know, I thoroughly enjoyed all the cardboard jokes that were out on Twitter the day that Labo was announced, but I am legitimately excited for this. I think that it is crazy and imaginative in a way that Nintendo excels at, and thank you, Nintendo. The world is a little bit crazier because of you, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's a world I want to live in.
It's a world I want to live in.
So, because we're both parents and we're both sort of addressing these sort of issues with introducing technology and when to start teaching. Oh, we'll put Augie right here, little cute little robot guy right there. What are some of your thoughts on when to introduce tech and how to teach tech? Because I think we both share opinions on things like, I don't want my daughter to grow up just thinking computers and phones and tablets are just gross consumption devices that you just sit there and zone out with.
Well, Juan and I were just talking about this recently on a podcast.
A really super cool podcast.
A really super cool podcast called Nerds with Kids. We were talking about, you know, there's this move in parenting right now to limit screen time, no screen time. But at the same time, especially if you're an adult who enjoys their own screen time and is very gadget focused, you want to introduce your kids
Right.
to this kind of stuff. So where do you find that balance? And Juan, why don't you tell everybody what your kind of current solution to that is?
So my daughter's 2, and for my wife and I, we don't let her play with phones and tablets like for games or watching movies. I mean, occasionally, like we'll be out and about, maybe she's having a meltdown, and we know her favorite Elmo video is going to calm her down.
Right.
Like, very limited use there. But she naturally, on her own, started gravitating towards smartphones as creation devices. So she really quickly understood cameras were how I can talk to Nani and Grandpa. Cameras let me shoot videos, and I can send a video to Daddy.
Yep.
You know, like so when I'm out traveling, when we were covering CES, we were sending videos back and forth. You know, the entire time I was out there to cover the show, and so that was something like, oh well, she's already naturally latching onto this as an idea. So that's what we're trying to push is an engaged relationship with technology, not just I can veg out for 2 hours and play my favorite, you know, Sesame Street game or something like that.
And more active than
Exactly.
passive. And my tiny human is not even 1 yet, so he's a super little one. But we have books like HTML for Babies,
Yes.
and like
I'll
board
also
books like that.
Plug like the ABCs of Physics is actually just a really good read. Even if you're
Yep.
not a baby, you should maybe check it out.
So we're injecting him with a strong dose of STEM real early on.
Real early. Get him started young.
Yeah. So I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I think the bigger advantage we can give our kids moving into this world that's so technologically focused, the better. So let's start talking about some of the products that we have today. This one right here that Juan and I are both kind of in love with
I love this thing.
the Piper Computer Kit. Yeah, this is really awesome
So,
because
you know, we're into PC building. This is like what Newegg is kind of all about. So this is a company that's really trying to introduce these concepts earlier on. And it's the full kit. I mean, you build everything about a Raspberry Pi powered computer, all of the cabling, all of the wiring to how the buttons are controlled. Oh no, someone broke our buttons. I'm gonna have to fix those.
oh no, our yellow and green buttons.
But it actually powers up and it boots an actual operating system. It's incredible.
It's really cool.
They pulled this out, and we both sort of fought over the sticking all the little wires and connector pins and everything in to set it up.
It comes with blueprint instructions, so you don't need to have any kind of pre-knowledge base like we did even, but we still enjoyed it. So it allows a kid or maybe yourself. We're not judging. We thoroughly enjoyed it.
We really liked it.
Yeah, so it allows you to put together a functional computer from scratch, which I think as a kid would be mind-blowingly cool. It comes with a special copy of Minecraft as well that you can install and control with the included controller. So it's got built-in appeal right there for Minecraft fans.
That's always very exciting. And the hardware in here is, again, I mean, considering when we were kids and you would have like the plastic shell, Tiger computer-powered computer for kids.
Yes.
Like it was nothing. This is an actual Raspberry Pi. Quad-core CPU clocked at 1.2 gigahertz, a Broadcom VidCore 4 for graphics, a gigabyte of RAM, wireless adapter, Bluetooth, micro SD storage, HDMI out, 3.5 millimeter audio jack. We have like a little speaker plugged into it just because we can. 4 USB ports, so it's already doing better than some like MacBook Pros. And it comes with Python 2 and JavaScript. So, not only in addition to you can load another operating system like Windows or Ubuntu on there, but you can get right into introducing like Java from the computer that the kid actually built. So if you're interested in a Piper, which I think you know by now, we think you should be, today's a great time to pick one up. You can head over to newegg.com/Newegg now for the promo code. Save yourself $60 off the normal price. Buy it for a kid, buy it for yourself.
Maybe a real fun date night.
Yes.
I would do that. No joke.
So we're gonna start off with some board games. Watch my favorite episode of Star Wars,
Build
and then
a computer.
build a computer. Sexy time.
Okay, next, let's talk about the Augie. This little guy right here, isn't he cute? It's designed to teach kids about coding, and you can control it using a very, very simple coding language. It also uses augmented reality, so it's great at helping develop concentration, hand-eye coordination, and logic skills in addition to the coding. The Augie is fantastic for getting young kids into the important skill sets necessary for high-level jobs of the future. Give them that edge. You can get the Augie for $15 off right now with the promo code on the Newegg Now page.
One of my voiceover clients used to teach like a robotics class for his son's high school. Fun tip. So if you introduce programming like little roving robots and you teach a kid how to draw a square, so you go forward, turn 90 degrees, go forward, turn 90 degrees. After you introduce them to that, try and get them to draw a triangle.
Why? What happens?
Well, because all the math changes and they have to calculate, and so they start doing the geometry on how to draw a triangle. It's
cool.
amazing. It's great. So anyway,
Very cool.
Staying in the world of augmented reality and not quite so geometry-based, but maybe kind of actually because it is a cube. The Cube-tastic. It's basically a Rubik's Cube. What uses the augmented reality to help dumb people like me solve Rubik's Cubes, because I've never been able to fix one of these in my entire life. So you scramble this all up, and then you point your phone at it, and it will then give you an augmented, turn-by-turn, real-time way to solve the Rubik's Cube. So it's a fun critical thinking training tool for kids, a nice application of augmented reality. Again, we're getting into some really fun way to add layers of tech to the world around us. And it can even help grown-up dumb people like me learn some fun skills too. It's 25% off today as part of Newegg Now. This might just make it into my camera bag when I leave set today.
I like that you prefaced everybody on that, so now they know to search it. So if you have a kid in your life who is an aspiring marine biologist, you should check out Ocean Pets. I believe we have Ocean Pets sitting right over there. This is a putty craft kit, sort of like Play-Doh, where you can make your own fish and other ocean creatures, then use an augmented reality app to scan them, and they'll appear in a game on your phone or tablet. It's really just a step beyond a normal tablet game, bringing in the real-world materials and blending physical and virtual elements, something that's going to become so much more common over the next couple decades, which I'm really excited about because, you know, kids learn different ways. So to incorporate as many of the senses as we possibly can in the learning experience is really awesome.
Especially for helping kids create the rules to their own game. Like, you make this thing, and that's what your avatar in the game becomes. I mean, it's just that little extra bit of allowing them that space, that room to play and creativity.
Give them choice, give them control, and hopefully they'll be a lot more engaged.
Yes.
So you can get Ocean Pets for $10 off today as a part of Newegg Now.
So make sure to go to that Newegg Now page so you can see all the STEM deals we have there for you today. There's so much more that, there's a lot more than what we've just discussed. Like, for example, he keeps moving in on me.
I like that he's just creeping in.
So, like, for example, you can also get to know this little guy right here. This is the Professor Einstein talking robot. Okay, so this is actually a really sophisticated robot that is really smart and has like.
He's like scowling at camera right now.
What I wasn't prepared for, we fired him up the first time, and what I wasn't prepared for are all of the advanced little facial robotic servos that go. So like when you ask him a question, like he really wrinkles his brow.
Yeah, he furrows his brow to think about the answer.
And it took me aback. There was the uncanny valley of me kind of getting, but Einstein was really thinking about my math question, so I had to give him credit for that. But
Professor, what are you glaring at over there?
I think he's glaring at Wes. He was like, Wes, stop moving me around the set.
Make him stop.
So he's Android and Apple compatible. Comes with games to play. He will move around. He can point and gesture. He'll answer your questions about science and math, and you can set him next to your you can set him up next to your bed and let him watch over you while you sleep.
Why would you ever do that? In case we didn't mention it, he has voice recognition too, so you can just ask him questions and he will answer you. It's
that last thing I said, Nick wrote that in the script. Maybe Nick is more into like survival horror than
I mean, maybe if you need a guard professor.
Guard professor.
Perhaps. I don't know.
And if you need that guard robot scientist professor robot to watch over you as you sleep, it's
there you go.
$26 off today as part of Newegg Now. Now would be the right time to pick up your robot Einstein. So that's gonna do it for STEM toys. Next up, we're gonna tackle one of my very favorite subjects. I can't believe they're giving me a platform to nerd out on audio, recording, voiceover, podcasting. You have to stick around because it's all about me and you. Better audio coming up next.
I'm also gonna talk in that segment.
Oh, well, hello there. We're talking about podcasting. I'm still getting all my props on the table. Trish, they're going to let me talk about voiceover recording.
I know, you're so excited. We'll also talk about audio for things like game streaming, voiceover recording, like Juan said, and or, you know, producing your own YouTube videos, whatever it is that you do that you need to record solid audio for. This is the segment for that.
Yeah, because I mean, there are a lot of things out there. Audio is still kind of a scary art for people. You can find some really cool camera tech, and you can see very readily when you improve your camera quality.
Right.
And audio can be a little bit more difficult to unravel.
I feel like audiences are so much more willing to forgive poor video quality than poor audio quality.
Oh, definitely.
So that is something to pay such close attention to.
Definitely. So all of it. I mean, you want to pay attention to all of it. The equipment, the tech you need for audio production. It's more popular. It's a more popular field because of all these different avenues that we all have now to create our own content. So because people are paying more attention, let's talk about some setups that you might need for good recording. I'll start off with you because you do a lot of game streaming.
Yeah.
That's one very specific aspect of producing live content.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you faced when you started putting together your live stream?
Well, for me, it was, you know, learning different software and how to switch between different types of audio recording, because if it's just me streaming, no problem. I can pop on a headset with a mic, set everything to pick up from that mic, everything's fine. When I bring a guest or another person onto the live stream with me, I need to figure out a different audio solution. Right. Then, you know, am I using a lav? Am I using a desktop mic? Am I, you know, trying to use a shotgun? And is that something that I can use with my current streaming setup? I will say, pro tip, don't use the onboard mic on your webcam.
No, don't. Please don't.
Don't use that. Try to find something else. And then audio balance with your game, and, you know, but doing all that in real time, because for me, I don't have someone else running my stream for me. I'm doing it live in the moment. So there are moments when I say, hey, hold on a sec, guys. I know that game audio is really loud. Let me go ahead and remix some stuff for you.
Or even just having the monitoring tools. Like, I'll be in the middle of a Google Hangout, and you're like, I have no idea what I sound like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have little levels, so I kind of know whether or not I'm clipping, but I have to wait until the audience is like, whoa, he's way loud and you're way quiet, or something like that. So, I mean, for some of the different podcasts, you know, there's a lot of philosophy that goes into this too. Is like, are we just having a comfortable chat? Am I trying to drive more of like a polished production kind of explanation on a topic or a service? And that's where all of these different tools, like, we really want to talk about some of the platforms, some of the expansion, because, you know, we're obviously coming to you on lavs because it doesn't make sense to have camera audio or camera positioned audio from that. And it also wouldn't make sense for us to have a more radio style setup because we like to have a more kind of open, I need the gesture over here. I don't want to have to move like a boom arm every time I want to get around.
Right, but for something like I produce YouTube content that involves tiny humans, you do not want to lav a tiny human because they move around all the time, and all you over here is crinkle, 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 crinkle.
And then also, I mean, like, you know, so we did Nerds with Kids, and someone left a comment on your video like, oh, I can kind of hear an echo on Juan's audio, and you're like, well, yeah, because I'm coming in on like a Skype call, and you don't want headphone cabling around little kids to isolate.
You can't. They run around constantly.
So you're gonna hear audio from speakers at the same time. So yeah, let's get into some of the stuff here with the basics, the setup.
Sure. Okay. Yep. So one, from a very basic standpoint, what does a typical setup look like for recording a podcast?
So recording a podcast, if it's a singular host and you don't have to worry about lots of guests or a wider, you know, conversation, I like having one radio style mic, often plugged into some kind of USB interface that controls the audio for the PC, and then headphones to isolate that sound. So that's a very simple and streamlined approach to building. Oh, she's gonna throw on the blue. And that's also where USB mics have become very popular because it simplifies that process. One cable connection directly plugged into a computer, and you're off and running. There are pros and cons, of course, to any type of simpler approach.
Of course.
So if you want to upgrade over time, a USB microphone is kind of done. You know, this pie's been baked. When you upgrade, you have to get rid of your entire recording setup. But if you don't have that fear, like, oh, maybe I'm not going to go to a bunch of interviews or something like that, then it's less of a concern that you stay with a USB mic for the majority of what you're trying to record. So, you know, if you're serious about making what you do, if you really want it to sound good, Here are some of the specifics that we're going to want to get into. First of all, environment is key. I kind of feel most people work backwards. They pick out a mic, and then they try and make the space that they're in work for the mic that they bought.
I am definitely one of those people, unfortunately.
Well, I think we all go through that because the mics are this is the sexy part of the audio chain. This is the thing you're going to talk into, so you focus on that first.
Well, that's in my, so I moved and I have a home studio in my new location, and I brought all my equipment from my old location and realized once I got in my new studio that the audio sounded completely different.
Not the same.
And you know, am I going to hang blankets on the wall? Am I going to put carpets on the floor? What am I going to do to make this sound better?
And so this sounds so reductive, but the first thing you really want to do is take a listen. Try and listen objectively to the space, because we tune out in our homes what our homes sound like. We just get used to it, so it becomes sort of background noise that our brain will eject. Really try and get in there. I mean, like, think about what are your neighbors like? You know, what is the neighborhood like? And then also, do you have like lots of flat walls and ceilings and reflective surfaces? Anything that reflects light is going to do a pretty good job of also helping sound bounce around in your space, and that can add to the noise and make it distracting for people listening to your recordings.
Yeah, my neighbors have very loud dogs, and there are many times I have had to stop mid-recording to hold for dog.
Hold for dog. Holding for dog.
So my new very expensive studio upgrade is going to be new windows that hopefully keep some of that sound out a little bit.
And again, those kinds of considerations too, like, because we live in Southern California. I'm in a condo. Obviously, if I wanted to do a studio right, it would involve ripping open the walls and putting in different insulation and floating the floor and dropping the ceiling, and can't do that. Also, I'm not bonded, so I don't know I can zone that for an earthquake-prone state and do it safely. In
the meantime, you're getting out a ladder and just stapling a foam to the ceiling.
Or to the outside of the house on the opposite wall. So once you've kind of taken a listen to your space, then you want to start shopping the right tool for the right job. A nicer mic might not always be the right solution.
Because it might pick up too much.
The better the mic is, the more detailed, articulate, accurate, and if you have a really noisy space, it's going to do a great job of picking up all the flotsam and jetsam that leaks into your audio recordings. So there are a couple different mics that you can check out. Obviously, if you've been into watching game streams, you've been seeing people on headsets, there's a great advantage because the microphone is right on top of their mouth. If the microphone is right on top of your mouth, you know, it's kind of like focusing a camera on a macro shot, but with audio. So you're going to get a lot less of the world around you compared to the subject that you're trying to take a listen to. So that's one solution. Of course, it also comes with the cons of a mic being right on top of your mouth. And I personally am not a big fan of those like ASMR recordings where you can hear all of the like biology of the mouth.
You know what? Some people love them.
Some people love them. I am not one of them. So I use these in very specialized circumstances. If you saw any of my vlogs from CES, I was using this a lot because this is one of the best solutions I've found for helping to isolate me around all the noise of the convention floor. But I look kind of dumb. I think what was it you said, Wes? I looked like a lost pilot. Yeah. So I'm wandering around CES like, oh, I'm on the show floor and we're doing some cool stuff. So not always like the cleanest look, but
whereas when I was recording at CES this year for my own stuff, I had a wired lav that I purchased very inexpensively that I just clipped right on for much the same reason. It's small, it's directional, it's close to my mouth, and it's not picking up all of the other noise around me.
And so these mic solutions and lavaliers are another great point. They're good. They actually do have a really wide pickup, but you're putting them on you, right? So you are so much closer to the mic than the rest of the world around you, and that's what kind of helps compensate. When we start getting into more studio tech, the main split between microphone technologies are going to be between dynamic microphones and condenser microphones. And so this is a large diaphragm condenser. My case is going to fall over. This is the AKG C414 XLS. This is one of my all-time favorite studio mics. It's about $1,000 worth of mic tech. But this was a studio purchase I made 15 years ago.
Wow.
So $1,000 over 15 years of use.
Pretty good return.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. but this is a studio-grade microphone, which I actually can't use at home.
Okay, because you would need to be in a sound booth.
Exactly. This is really designed to be operated in a clean environment. And now that I'm done talking about it, I'm going to close the case and put it down here because I love this mic.
Okay.
But that's also where we get into other things too. I think a lot of people overlook dynamic microphones, even something as simple as like the SM series. This is a vintage SM56 from my personal collection. The current model is an SM57, but the capsule design hasn't changed. You've seen mics that look like this since the 60s, because they kind of got it right in the 60s. Like the design on this hasn't changed significantly since then.
Awesome.
The drawback is these are very low output microphones.
Okay.
So you need to have something that can really power it, a good USB interface or a preamp, something that's really going to help drive the signal. But the nice thing about a mic like this, because it's low power, it does a really good job of rejecting things that aren't right in front of it.
Got it.
So you have dogs barking, you have trucks that rumble by on your street, you've got just noise in your environment. This mic stays really close.
Okay.
So once you go from a distance like this to this, you're already disappearing from the capsule of this microphone. Again, this might be the right fit so that you then don't have to backtrack and spend a ton of money trying to treat your room. You could do it more with a mic. And that's why in radio stations in the United States, you often see dynamics, because they're very noisy environments. You got producers, you got people running in and out of booths. If you look at radio stations in the UK, those booths are treated and blocked and soundproofed, and they're on much nicer mics in those booths because they have an expectation that the audio is going to be cleaner in that space. So again, just different philosophies for how we get stuff done. If you're talking podcasting and you're in a noisy environment, this might be the right fit.
But if you're streaming or you're recording something and you don't necessarily want the mic in the shot and it has to be a little bit further away or a little bit smaller, then you have to look at a different solution.
Yeah, you have to look at a different solution, and this is definitely something where you would be okay with it being right in front of your face. A condenser would give you the ability to kind of back away from the mic a little bit more, but when you do that, you start to blend in more with your environment. So that's where you really want to keep the environment clean, but it would give you some distance. Or you switch over to something like a shotgun. Those are the really long, skinny mics. I should have brought one of those too. I have the Sennheiser MKH416. It's a great mic. Or you switch over into something like a lav, and it's okay that you see the lav on camera. Now, another thing that people don't take into consideration is also just the placement of the mic. So we've been talking about distance in terms of controlling noise, but then also controlling environment becomes key too. I'll listen to someone's recordings and they're complaining about how noisy their setup is, and you're like, well, I can hear you put that mic right next to like a case fan on a PC on your table, and you're using the mic like this, but the computer's right here, and there's a noisy keyboard like right by the mic also, and you're like, of course the mic is picking up all of this. You've got to move some things around.
Makes sense.
A lot of USB mics. So I'm a big fan of Blue. I've had their actual studio recording kit. Like I've got a Blue Kiwi. I love the Blue Kiwi. But when you start off with a mic like this, imagine trying to actually position that so that you're talking. It's like you can't. I feel like I'm in a bad infomercial. Like, has this ever happened? I don't know how my hands work. So one of the first things that I recommend is, while this base and this stand is built really well for the Yeti, for example, it has a mic thread on the bottom. It might be worth just going to a Guitar Center and getting a cheap mic stand or a desktop mic stand or something that can elevate the mic closer so that you can really get the mic situated and positioned in a way that it's focusing on you and not just a sort of a generic table accent or table prop. And then the other thing to take into consideration too is just changing the angle of the mic will change the tone of your sound.
Yeah, I had that problem in my old studio. Juan being my go-to audio guy for years now. I'd be like, hey, I'm having a problem with my mic and my stream. Can you just come over and look at my setup? And I want to say all you did was change the angle.
Yeah,
you were like, yeah, here, I got you. You're good. Thanks,
monies,
Juan.
please. My consulting fee. I have a very reasonable hourly. But especially as you start getting into the tone of nicer mics. So we start saying nicer mics and everyone's dollar amount changes. I believe that at around the $200 to $300 level, you're in pretty good studio grade territory.
Okay.
The reason I spend $1,000 on a mic isn't because it gets 3 times better than a $300 mic, but it has a certain tone, it has a certain color, it has a certain character. It's like vintage lenses on a camera. You know, you want to get into the texture and what it captures well and what it shows off. The 414 does a terrible job of making me sound bassy, but I don't have a bassy voice. I've got like a really kind of crinkle in the mid-range that mic picks up beautifully, and that's why I like that mic. And that's why that mic is worth $1,000.
This is why he's the go-to audio guy.
Oh, I get deep in like voiceover stuff. Like, I really need the nuance around that like 3K bump. But so once you start even just angling the mic differently, picking up different areas of the face, you can get pretty deep in the weeds on what character, what sound you're trying to accomplish. And lastly, I just gotta say, there are so many people out there that are trying to fix recordings in post.
Oh, I'll fix it in post is like the worst thing that you can say ever because you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Bad
5 hours from now.
Well, and you're usually fixing it at a time where you're so far removed from the recording, too. It's like you have to go back and listen and try and remember and do all these things. And so I know a lot of people will say, like, oh, you do this gating and you do this plug-in, you do this noise reduction, and all these things can help. You can tweak with EQ. There are special pieces of software called noise reduction filters. There's one on Audacity, which is a free audio recording program. Which I
recommend Audacity. I use that to record voiceover auditions as well.
Actually, really good. The noise reduction plugin on Audacity is competitive with much more expensive solutions. But I think the studio adage goes, if you get it right from the recording, you have way less work to do.
Of course.
Trying to fix it in post. And all of those plugins will manipulate sound and make something bad sound better, but it's never going to completely fix it.
Right.
And the harder you hit those plugins, the more you're going to affect and disrupt the actual recording. So you'll start to sound muddy, or you'll warble like you're underwater, or you'll just get really crunchy and kind of gross and digital. If you can get it right from treating the room first, setting up your space properly, and picking the right mic for that space, saves you so much time and so many headaches on the back end.
Now, that being said, there are audio professionals who are just wizards at going in post and fixing things. In my experience, to hire them costs a lot of money because they are so good at what they do.
Yeah,
so
that is not a cheap proposition.
It is not a cheap proposition, but if you're in a real bind, that can be an option if you know an auditory wizard.
But again, you know, think about the amount of time you want to spend. If you're trying to put together a podcast, like, there's an efficiency that you want to try and reach. And if you front load your sweat equity, you front load that investment at the very beginning of setting up your space, you save so much time on every single recording you do after the fact. And so that's always been my biggest piece of advice, is try not to jump straight into what mic you're looking at, but use your ears and start to develop a sense of what you like to hear.
I love it. This is all great advice. Juan, thank you so much for sharing. Guys, now that you at home know a little bit more about the basics of audio production, let's talk deals.
Yes. So if you're in the market for a dedicated microphone for almost any purpose, the Yeti microphone here from Blue is a powerful and versatile option. Newegg Now promotion today is on the special blackout edition. It's pretty sexy. I just have the Pro, so it's like silver with like the sort of the marble
I like
texture.
the all black. It's nice.
I do like the all black. I wish the Pro had the all. Anyway, so you can see right here, this is a USB microphone with a triple microphone array, and that means it can change the shape of its recording pattern.
Cool.
So you can record just from the front and the back. That's called figure of 8, or omnidirectional, where it's going to pick up everything. And then the third element will actually allow for a stereo recording. It's another thing too people don't realize. You plug in one mic, that's mono, and so that's where you're listening to something and it only shows up in your left ear. That's mono. So the Yeti is normally $129. You can get it today for just $89.
Wow.
One of the more popular microphones around for gaming, for streaming, for podcasting. It's about 30% off on Newegg Now.
That's really nice. Now, if you're not quite ready for the Yeti, Blue also offers a more entry-level microphone that's just as popular in the form of the Snowball Ice right in front of me. It's pretty lovely and presents another color scheme. If you're not ready to go all black, you can go all white. And no, I did not dress to match our microphones today. It just kind of happened.
No, that was the memo floating around. She totally did do that thing.
If you're in the video game streaming or YouTube world, you've probably heard of the Snowball. It's a very popular choice for streamers, for voiceover, for YouTube videos, or for things like Skype or other online chatting functions. It's plug and play USB, so whether you're using a PC or a Mac, it'll work out for you. It doesn't have quite the amount of features or performance of the Yeti, but it's significantly less expensive. So it's a great choice for less professional applications.
And so Snowball is normally $49. Oh, there's our page. Hey, Snowball's normally $49, but the promo code on that Newegg Now page, you can save about 30% on this one too. Pick it up for just $34.99.
That's a really nice deal. So these are great deals on a couple of super popular microphones from one of the biggest names in the gaming and podcasting audio equipment. Whatever you guys are looking to do with a microphone, the Yeti or the Snowball can get it done.
And we caught their booth at CES, and it sounds so silly and so simple, but I'm stinking excited. They're coming out with a boom arm. So exactly the thing I was addressing with the way that they put their stands down, and like this is not the easiest way to set up on your desk. It looks like a great way to set it up on your desk. It's not always the best way to get this mic in front of your face. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say it was the Compass or something like that.
I don't remember what it was
but
called either.
what it does is it attaches to the desk and it gives you a really easily manipulated arm to get that mic right up in front.
I will be buying that as soon as I can.
Mine's just like a bad like gooseneck lamp setup. Like it's so cheap from Amazon, but that's really all I need.
I do that thing that you hate where I keep it off to the side next to my computer.
Oh no!
I know. That. You hate it, but that's all I got right now.
Makes me so sad.
Guys, remember to go to Newegg.com/Newegg now for all of today's deals. Check them out before they expire and before supplies run out.
And and there's also a special deal on the laptop that I've been using today.
Yes.
This is the Dell Inspiron 15 5000. You can save $100 on this model through the end of the day today only.
Okay, well, we're just about out of time for today, so thanks very much for watching to everyone at home, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or on the Newegg Now site. And thanks especially to our episode partners, DJI, Blue Microphones, Dell, and so many more.
And join us next week when we're going to be talking about absolutely everything from the world of RGB lighting. Again, I'm cribbing so many notes from my next build, guys. And as always, want to throw a major shout out to our Newegg ninjas, Wes for his good hand pantomiming of a drone and freaking me out with moving Einstein around my desk. Always appreciate the work that you guys put in.
Is he still back there? Oh, he is.
He's still watching us from
he's
skulking in the shadows.
He's right there. Thanks for that, guys.
This is the Einstein we deserve right now.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Newegg Now, and now you know.
Bam.